Hello, I'm Sophiralou and welcome to my channel.
Hello guys and welcome to this month's Draw With Me video. I have decided to do something from my sketchbook, as you would have seen in my sketchbook tour, that I actually really liked and wanted to turn into a finalised sort of reimagined piece. Now the colours in this are very different from my original sketch and you'll see that when we get to the actual colouring stage. But let's just talk about the line work. And the line work took me a little bit longer than usual because I was using a 0.1 and a 0.2 uni pin pen, and I used to work with these pens a lot and I still do work with these pens a lot. It's just find sometimes like doing quite a lot of work with very small detail pens can take a while, and it did take me a while for inking that, and I wasn't too sure in the direction that I was gonna go with the illustration. It took me several sketches to actually finally decide on what I wanted to do, and I ended up doing this witch drawing that I had in my sketchbook because I liked it so much. But I kind of wanted to reimagine her as like a galaxy witch, like her hair is the galaxy, she's surrounded by a galaxy, and it's almost like she controls space and time. So that's my sort of idea behind that. And the cat is of course because no witch cannot have a familiar. So with this one it's kind of it's very simple. It's just because I didn't want to do too much specifically for this week's video. I just got back from a convention and I am very tired, and literally in between work and doing conventions it's just kind of caught up with me a little bit. So just something very simple for this month's Draw With Me, nothing too spectacular. So I do apologise if anyone was expecting anything a bit more grandeur. So what I do actually like about doing with line work is I like to do lots of different variations of line. I don't like a one line width all the way through. And this is because I find that if you do a single line width all the way through, it can make your image very flat. Whereas when you're building up your lines and creating different variations in lines and making some lines heavier, some lines thinner, it actually gives your image a lot more flow and makes everything seem a little bit more interesting to the eye. But yeah, it's just, especially this curly hair. Oh my god, this curly hair was the bane of my life. And I don't know why I ended up putting this much detail into the hair, because later on when I coloured it, it just ended up not even seeing half of the detail that was there. But I think it was just because I was trying to make the image a bit more interesting, just because it is so simple in comparison to some of my other illustrations. I was just trying to make it look a little bit more, so to speak. Now for those asking, I do tend to do a lot of illustrations out of my mind. It's actually quite weird for me to do fan art stuff, or for me to do challenge stuff. I just usually doodle and get what's out of my brain, and I was feeling very witchy this month. I don't know why. I did used to have a lot of witch characters. I used to have a character called Marina in a little comic series I made called Forbidden Magic. And it's a very old comic series I'd love to resurrect and try all over again because it was so much fun to do, and I actually do really enjoy drawing witches. They're so much fun, especially with the big hats. So all I'm doing here with watercolours is I'm just creating my first layer of colours, and I'm using like a few mixes of colour. So I'm using pinks, I'm using purples, I'm using oranges, I'm using greens, and this is to kind of get the galaxy effect that I'm after. I tend to use a lot more purple when I'm going for this effect, just so I can make it pop a lot more. Now there are things I like about this illustration and there's things that I don't like, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. What I did like was my line work. I thought my line work was really lovely for this illustration. I was particularly proud of it. And what I didn't like was in later on, I think I overworked the image a little bit. And that was just because I was just trying to keep it interesting, and I find that a lot with my illustration work, that sometimes I'll know when to stop, and then at other times I'll be like, no, it doesn't look good enough, it doesn't look good enough, I've got to keep working on it, and this is a really good lesson to learn from, because what I tend to do is I tend to do a lot of test images, and then after I've done my test images, that's when I'll move on to a final piece. Due to time constraints, I unfortunately didn't have that much. But with this one, I just really wanted this sort of like space theme. Like she has this sort of like glare to her. Like you wouldn't want to mess with her, and not because she's badass, just because she has this sort of look to her that she is the queen, she is the boss, and you have every right to fear her. So with the white gel pen that's here, I do get asked this a lot, this is a Uniball Signo. It's just really good if you want to create this sort of like very light effect, and I find that this gel pen's a fantastic one to work with, especially if you do want to do like a galaxy style illustrations. And you can see here I am working in the darker areas with a few pro markers, and this is just to make it look less like a big cloud on her head and actually more like hair. So I'm actually shading some areas, making them darker than others, so then it's giving the illustration a bit more pop. And I'm using, yet again here, purples and reds to accentuate the feeling of galaxy, and then going over with some pencil crayons just to deepen certain areas that I couldn't actually do with the watercolours. So yeah, I kind of went for like a greenish tinge to her skin because I'm really inspired by Wicked, and for those who don't know what Wicked is, it's a musical and it's a book by Gregory Maguire. The book is probably one of my favourite books I've ever read in my entire life, and yeah, it was just, I love it to pieces. So what you see here is I'm using the Winsor & Newton gold ink. Now originally I was just going to go for very, very simple with the gold stars just looking there and the gold paint, but I felt this was too simple. It didn't fit, I felt like it wasn't filling the paper the way I wanted it. Now usually what I would have done is sort of just gone, okay, take a step back, we'll look at this later on. But yet again, I'm going to go back to the whole time constraints thing, and this is where you can start to feel yourself being a little bit rushed or a little bit overbeared by something. This is when I say to myself, okay, I have gone too far. Now usually what's good with illustration is if you feel that you're not getting anywhere with it or you're hitting a brick wall, what is actually very good for you to do is just take a step back and come back to it later. Otherwise, like what you'll see me doing here, is you'll end up overworking an illustration. Now the overall effect on this isn't that bad, but it's overworked, and what I mean by overworked is that it's had too much added to it. More should have been taken back, I should have stopped at a certain point. Now I think what saved it actually has been me putting on more gold paint, but that's where I should have just stopped. I should have just gone, right, I'm done, take a step back and carry on. And you'll find this with a lot of your illustration work, and the reason why I think it's good for me to add my mistakes into these videos and for me to include and me to explain what I felt went wrong is because a lot of people, and a lot of you, I completely understand, sometimes when you're drawing you feel like everything has to be perfect, and I do it all the time. I think, oh god, I have to make this perfect and the best I can, but you're going to make mistakes. Not every piece of illustration is going to be perfect for you. Not every piece of drawing you're going to do is going to turn out absolutely fantastic. It doesn't work that way. You are going to hit roadblocks. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do something wrong. You're going to look at it and go, oh god, why have I done that? But you have to learn from these mistakes, and what those mistakes make you better as an illustrator, as an artist, as someone who wants to draw, someone who animates. Anyone who does that, you have to make mistakes to learn from them. Now this isn't me saying, oh, everything you're going to do is going to be imperfect. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is it's okay to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because I make mistakes all the time, and it's good for me to do that because I can look back on them and go, right, how could I have improved what I did wrong there? And looking at this illustration, like looking at it now, I'm looking at the piece of paper and I'm like, it's not bad. I'll probably go back and I'll probably work on it a little bit more, because I probably want her to stand out a bit more from her background. And what I'll probably do to this is I'll probably redo it, because I like the overall idea of the illustration. What I'll probably do is I'll go back and I'll work it with different colour schemes, because I feel it would probably look better, maybe with a bit more green added in there, or maybe with a different colour scheme. And this is because I tend to rely on the colour purple and pink a lot, and I've noticed this with my illustration work, and it's something that I feel that I need to improve on. And this is very good for you to look back on your mistakes. And this isn't I'm not sitting here saying that I know all about illustration, because no, goodness me, no one knows all about illustration. You just have to see what's good and what's bad in the work. So in my eyes, the overall style of the girl I really like. What I don't like about it is the colour schemes I've chosen. I feel that if I went for a darker palette on her and a lighter palette on the background, it would have looked much better. It would have stood out much more. I've definitely overworked this illustration. I think in order for her galaxy hair to stand out, the background needs to be completely plain, or it needs to be very pastel colour to be contrast in her style a bit more. And this is me looking back and seeing how I could improve the illustration. Now, do you guys ever do this with your work? Do you ever look back at it and just think, okay, this is how I could improve this piece? And this is you giving yourself constructive criticism. So I'm just giving you a few final looks over the piece. And if you guys ever have any questions about illustration or ever want to talk to me about stuff, feel free to comment down below. If you like this little video, leave a like button, click that like button if you want to, and maybe subscribe to my channel if you wish to see more content. Thank you guys always for your support. You mean the world to me. I could not be doing all of this without you. It is you guys who make this channel what it is. So I love you all, and as always, stay creative.